Hey yo guys, I'm back here to give you my reviews of both TNA Lockdown, which took place on Sunday night from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as UFC 97, which took place Saturday night from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Gotta say, I mean, this was a busy weekend for pay-per-views. There were 4 pay-per-views this weekend. I only got to see 2 of them. There's the one we're going to be reviewing here. There was the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. I was unfortunate not to see that one. Still haven't had a chance to. Hopefully I get to, even though I heard it wasn't, the best Ring of Honor pay-per-view ever. I've actually heard it was the worst. As well, there was a Global Supremacy pay-per-view, which was a boxing pay-per-view, another top-rank promotions one. I believe Nonito Donaire fought on that card, and I heard it was a pretty good pay-per-view there, so I'm going to check that one out. As I bet, I've heard that may be the best pay-per-view that took place this weekend, but anyways, we'll see. As well, there was a Showtime Championship Boxing with one of my favorite fighters going today in Yuriorkis Gamboa. But anyways, we're here to do Lockdown as well as UFC. Overall, Lockdown, they hyped it up pretty well, and I must say it was a good pay-per-view. I'd say it was good. Maybe average to good. It wasn't what I expected. I thought with, that Lethal Lockdown match that they really hyped up, I mean, especially the Team Jarrett, that had a hell of a lot of workers, and, you have Kurt who can really go, and, Steiner even in a big match situation can go, and you had Booker as well, but, Nash was the wild card. But, something lacked, and I definitely think, there wasn't that heat on this pay-per-view in a lot of the matches, and there were a lot of, there were some really good matches, and maybe it's the fact that, Philadelphia, I guess they heard that a wrestling pay-per-view was coming to town, and they just went because it was wrestling. I mean, they didn't really follow who was on it. I mean, they probably heard that, Team 3D or the Dudley Boys, whoever want to say, were coming back to Philadelphia, so they went. So I mean, that maybe have to do with it, because that match had the most. Let's run through this card here. I got to see the pre-show, the match between Eric Young and Danny Bonaduce. First of all, happy this thing was on the pre-show. Gotta say, for a match between, a full-time pro wrestler and a guy who's done pro wrestling in the past, I mean, with Bonaduce doing, he did dark matches in WCW, as well as, we all know his stuff on Hulk Hogan's Celebrity Championship Wrestling, where he was actually one of the stars of the show, if you don't mind me saying. I thought this match was I kept it to about 3 minutes. I thought it was actually, just a decent, little TV match. So I'm not going to hate on it. I thought Bonaduce did a pretty good job to be a heel. I mean, he came out, he bit some plant's hand, and he got taken away. He brought nunchucks into the ring, and he started throwing them, and, he was like that, that intimidating heel, and then he did he dropped them and beat that clumsy heel, so that was fine. He really didn't get that much offense in, and Young got the victory. And then he started, he shook Young's hand and whatnot, and then he, double-crossed him, turned on him, and we had Rhino come out and give Bonaduce a gore, which was actually, well, I mean, he took that gore pretty hard. I mean, he, flew from maybe center of the ring to the ropes, so that was pretty, I respect Bonaduce for taking that. And I respect TNA for not putting this on the pay-per-view, as, Dixie Carter thought that this was a more serious pay-per-view, and this match may be a little comedy-esque, and she didn't want that on there. Then when they brought Dixie Carter out, this was her first time on, the screen, per se. And, Jeremy Borash introduced her, and he said that, this company isn't run by an egotistical businessman, i.e. Vince McMahon. We're owned by a loving mother from Dallas and Dixie Carter, but it's like, no, you're owned by a egotistical businesswoman. Just my thoughts there. But, Dixie's, she's nice and whatnot. She got thanked all the fans for helping breaking ratings, but I guess you could tell from this pay-per-view that these fans don't watch TNA Impact every Thursday night, like a lot of people, do, or, I guess maybe it's that trend. I'm not sure, but these fans probably don't watch Impact. If they do, they watch it on occasion, but still. Anyways, then we went to the pay-per-view. The King sticks off with the Xscape for the TNA X-Division Championship. It was Suicide versus Kiyoshi versus Jay Lethal versus Consequences Creed versus Sheik Abdul Bashir. Gotta say, this match was actually pretty good. It wasn't, never mind. This was actually a pretty good match, I should say. I enjoyed it. It went, how I thought it would. I mean, the crowd wasn't that much into it. I mean, we had Kiyoshi get eliminated first. Teamwork there from Lethal and Creed, which I liked, and then you had I believe it was Creed then get eliminated. You know, Suicide had his moments in the match, or Christopher Daniels, that's who worked this. He did double duty. Then you had, you know, the final three were Suicide, Lethal, and Bashir. You know, Bashir and Lethal, you know, they worked well together. I think the best stuff came from Lethal and Daniels under the Suicide mask. And then, you know, Bashir got the victory to eliminate Lethal. We went to the final segment, which was the escape between Suicide and Bashir. This was fine. You know, it was probably not one of the better TNA X-Division opener matches you're gonna see, but it was still fine. That's what I'll say with it. And Suicide then, you know, did a dive that really, to me, was stupid. You had the man who's playing this is going to be in a match, important match on this pay-per-view later on in this show. So he dove onto a whole bunch of people like Kiyoshi and all these security guards and what have you. Suicide gets the win and retains the X-Division Championship. Then we went to the next match, which was the Queen of the Cage match. Now, I will say this. Thank the Lord that it was not like last year where you had way too many women and you started from the outside of the cage into it so you could have an actual cage, which was fucking stupid. This year they just started inside the cage and whoever got the pinfall became Queen of the Cage. My problem is when you look at the women in this match, a lot of them were not great workers. I mean, ODB is a decent worker, but I mean, I don't know, maybe she just hasn't been the ODB from the beginning of her TNA. You know, definitely we had Daffney, who was definitely the best worker in this match. Madison Rayne, who's a pretty good worker in herself, but just wasn't clicking. And we have Sojourner Bolt, who's terrible in this match. Overall, it was fun. It was okay, I should say. Well, actually, it was pretty terrible. It wasn't that good. Maybe went a bit too long. I don't know. I mean, my problem with this pay-per-view is there's too many multi-person matches in a row on this show. I mean, we didn't need to have that many altogether in there. That's just my thoughts. You know, then you had, you know, ODB won. She became Queen of the Cage. She pinned Sojourner, which is fine, because Sojourner's probably not going to go anywhere in this company any further than where she is. You keep Daffney for probably a potential match, maybe down the line with either maybe Angelina Love or Kong, or, you know, they're bringing in a new Japanese female wrestler in, which I'm very excited for, who someone can actually work. I can't remember her name at the moment, but they're bringing her in. But yeah, this is just bad. It didn't work well. They just didn't have that much chemistry, no heat, and just plotted and plotted and plotted. And then we went to the next match, which was for the IWGP Junior Tag Team Championships. Now, the thing I will make mention is, of course, all the big, you know, talk here was going into this match. LAX is in this match when really, you know, the combined weight is something like 220 or as a whole, or I believe it has to be 220 pounds, when clearly Hernandez himself weighs over that limit. So Mike Tenay tried to put it over as, oh, the IWGP Junior tag titles, they're like the X Division. There's no limit. It's all about no limits. That would have been fine, Mike, if the tag belts weren't called the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. Wow. Anyways, this was good. I think, you know, you have the Guns who carried a lot of the load in there. You had Hernandez throw a lot of people around. No Limit had their moments in there, but to me, I would have rather had this been versus No Limit, as they have some great chemistry. And plus, you know, No Limit really didn't get to shine as much as they should. They definitely showcased more Shelly and Sabin and LAX, but, you know, that's where I guess you could, I don't know, I was disappointed with that because I like No Limit. No Limit's actually a very, very good tag team if you've any had a chance to see them in New Japan, especially the match when they became IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champions from last October at their New Japan Destruction show when they beat Minoru and Prince Devitt, which I think I've made mention before. That's a great Junior Tag Team champion match. But it was just, maybe it was once again we had a multi-man match, a multi-team match, actually. Too much for me, too much to digest all back to back like that. So, I don't know. I mean, it was fine. It definitely was one of the better matches on this show, I will say that. But, you know, the Motor City Machine Guns get the victory. Hernandez definitely threw a lot of people around in the cage, which was awesome. The Guns had some great double team work. Just, it was what you expected, but it just lacked that thing where you thought it could have been, a great multi-team match. It just lacked the aspect of it. The Guns got the win, which, you would expect have happened, but I still wish we would have had frickin' No Limit versus the Guns. I think it would have been better, and you could have, New Japan would have showed it more. They're going to show this match anyway, but you would have shown it better than that. But anyways, then I went to the next match, which was the Doomsday Chamber Blood match. This match was there. Morgan brought in a during his entrance and whatnot. He busted Abyss open early, which to me was just fucking illogical, because the whole point of this match is to pin your opponent until he bleeds, which you would think this is going to be some nice psychology where, pretending to, use the weapons to grade your opponent, or more so just the cage. I don't think you really needed a weapon or whatnot, but, but they didn't. Nah, just Morgan hit Abyss with a chair and he bled 2 minutes. Smooth. Anyways, eventually, Morgan got busted open from a chair. The thing I found, weird was, I think Abyss went to go out and get the chair to bring it back in, and there was still glass in the ring, which, what? You had glass, which is technically a better weapon. My favorite line of this whole match was Don West, when Abyss took the glass and raked it over Morgan's face, he said, "Oh man, Abyss, if you're gonna do that, do it the proper way." Oh, so just slowly do it. Okay, instead of just, there's a proper way to smack someone in the face with glass. Thank you, Don. And by the way, has anyone noticed that Don West has picked up a new catchphrase, and it's this? You know what I mean? But no, we don't. We have no clue what you're saying half the time, Don. Jesus. But anyways, this match was black. Of course, had Stevie Richards come out, make his debut, telling Abyss not to use the weapons. So it looks like probably the next pay-per-view will get an Abyss versus Stevie Richards match, which should be okay. I still feel bad for Abyss. Every pay-per-view, he now has to hurt himself. Abyss was a great character back in 05, and 06, but now he's just a joke of a character. He's gonna do vlogs on Spike TV, just ugh. Then we went to the next match, which was for the TNA Knockout Championship. It was Awesome Kong defending against Angelina Love and Taylor Wilde. This was actually a pretty good women's match. I will say that, for TNA. I liked the little aspect of it where you had Kong get all still pissed off and go to work on Love with just Taylor Wilde staying back, and Taylor Wilde and Kong worked together on Love for a short time. I mean, Kong kind of did a Joe thing where Taylor ran off the ropes, and they kind of do that lucha thing where you go wrap your legs around the waist and just get slammed down onto your opponent. But Kong just slammed her on the mat. I thought that was funny. And then you had Wilde and Love work together, which was pretty. I like that aspect of it, as it was a smart way to go. Definitely one of the more innovative spots I've seen in pro wrestling in quite some time. As we had Angelina Love and Velvet Sky Ty. Awesome Kong's brace to the cage. I liked that. Unfortunately, the match went down a bit due to, after that, Love turned around. She took a cross body from Taylor Wilde and got a concussion, which is unfortunate because, from that point on, Wilde just put Love in a chin lock and didn't know what to do, and then she decided, I'm going to go over to Kong. Wilde, went over to Kong. Kong kicked her in the midsection. Angelina covered a new TNA Knockouts champion. I'm fine with that. Hopefully they don't do this angle where, Velvet and Angelina are trying to, fight over who should be champion and eventually break up the team, because they're definitely one of the best things that this company has. I hope they don't do that. But I'm fine with, and the beautiful people being the champions. I mean, they're one of the incredible things in the knockout division, so big thumbs up there. Then we went to the next match, which was Beer Money versus Team 3D. Definitely the match that had the most heat. It was a street fight. Once again, I still think that's kind of dumb. You're having a street fight in an all-cage pay-per-view, but that's just me. They actually didn't spend that much time out on the floor, which is a positive. They were in the cage for quite a bit. Definitely, the build-up to this match was good. Beer Money is a really strong team. They pulled out a really great match there with Team 3D. They actually had a good one going on at Destination X until the stupidity of the booking happened on that show. And we got to this match now, and they treated it more serious, which I liked. everything worked well together. I thought, you know, Beer Money got to shine a lot in this match. It's definitely probably the best match they had since they became TNA Tag Team Champions, defeating LAX back at Hard Justice. So that's where I would go with there. Definitely, you know, there were some ECW chants and whatnot. It had that, just, you know, this definitely had the most important matched feel of the night. So that's where I would go with that. Of course, Team 3D get the win when Storm accidentally closed the cage door on Rude's face, and then there was a 3D, and they now the 22-time tag team champions, which, you know, is fine. You knew that the IWGP weren't being changed hands, but I'm damn sure that New Japan will not let TNA change booking decisions on there. I mean, they may have in the IWGP Junior Tag match, because you had New Japan Tag Team in there, but I highly doubt that. And I think if they're going to change the belts, of those belts, it's definitely going to be in New Japan. Anyways, then we went to Lethal Lockdown. Gotta say, for Lethal Lockdown, this may have been the most disappointing one, which is unfortunate, because this one had probably one of the more better to a Lethal Lockdown. And yeah, it was fine, whatnot. I mean, I liked how we had Angle and Daniels start. Angle and Daniels did, you know, some good work. But the thing I didn't like about this was, you know, they come out, they do, you know, the little clock, and then they come out, and then they have pyro. Like, your man is in trouble, and you're doing your little entrance. Like, you'd have Booker do his pinky thing. You know, Jarrett is the last one to come out for his team, and team, by the way, if you notice, before Jarrett comes out, the faces are at the advantage, and they just remember, oh shit, Jarrett's gonna have to make the save. Let's let frickin' us get the heat back on them. So, that's just interesting right there. This match was fine. It just didn't have that heat, which was really weird, because this match had a lot of the stars that, you know, these fans definitely would more identify to, you know, in your Booker T, your Scott Steiner, even a Kurt Angle and a Kevin Nash. But, you know, Nash much, but what could you expect from Kevin Nash? I mean, this is like one of his first matches back. I mean, or second match back technically, as he worked a match with Scott Hall versus the New Age Outlaws in, I believe, Montreal in IWS, which I heard was atrocious, but still. Anyways, this match was, the finish just seemed anticlimactic. I mean, the whole plot of the pay-per-view really was Jarrett going to turn. He teased turn on, hit AJ, and he hit Booker, and they got the victory. And then after that, you had Bobby Lashley come out. So really, to me, Bobby Lashley and TNA, will he be fine there? Maybe for a couple, I think, well, his whole thing is that he doesn't have a contract. He's going to do TNA sometime. He's still going to do MMA. He actually just signed a fight with Bob Sapp to take place in Mississippi. So that should be interesting to see where they go with that. He definitely will get, you know, that promotion supply with Spike and all time on Impact and whatnot. I think there could be a good match there between him and Angle, and maybe even a Booker T again, but still, I don't know about Bobby Lashley being the one to sign. Of course, they had this thing where Joe took forever to come out because he was talking to someone, and I'm guaranteeing you that's Taz. Taz is coming in, but it's going to be a slow build, which is fine. Then we went to the next match, which was for the TNA Heavyweight Championship. It was Sting versus Mick Foley. Really, I've heard a lot of people say, oh man, this match was slow, and it was bad, and what. Okay, it was slow because, one, you have Mick Foley, whose back, knees are just destroyed. You have Sting, who's getting up there, and he's 50 as well. He has horrible knees, so what did you expect this to be, you know, a Masato Yoshino, a Dragon Gate match, a Lucha match with Mystico? No, I mean, I expected it to be a slow pace. I thought the psychology in this match was awesome. I thought the psychology really worked well. You know, even the basic psychology of Foley working over the knee, and whatnot. Then they had this pretty cool spot. I thought that, you know, you could win by escaping the cage. So Foley drop kicked the cameraman and tried to crawl through the hole there. I thought that was awesome. Of course, you know, when he called for the bat, who gave him the bat was the cameraman, and I didn't. Why? Just got knocked on your ass by Foley. Why are you giving him the weapon? But anyways, then you had, you know, Sting bleed. He got Mr. Sacco happened and whatnot. Sting was bleeding, and then the finish was they were both making the race to climb over the top, and Foley fell from there. So I mean, Foley, for a guy that age to fall like that, and I'm not excited to see him do something like that. But him as champion, it'll definitely be a short reign. But I actually think it'll be a good little for TV for a couple of weeks. I'm fine with it. If anything, Foley could drop it to Angle, and I think Angle's still the most credible champion the company's going to have, but that's just my opinion there. overall, I guess you can go thumbs in the middle, thumbs up. That's where I would go. I wouldn't say it was a thumbs down pay-per-view. I mean, we had some good matches on there. It just didn't have that heat on, you know, for a big show like this. When you look at last year, it didn't have that heat. You know, it had actually a lot of important matches built up, but that's just my thoughts there. Anyways, moving over to the realm of mixed martial arts, we'll review UFC 97 here. Overall, I gotta say UFC 97 as a pay-per-view as a whole, preliminary fights, not the greatest things you've ever seen in your life. Main card actually got going, and then the main event just, definite candidate for worst fight of the year, Anderson Silva and Talis latest. Horrible fight. I'll just give you my quick thoughts. I've seen all the prelims up until, except with the exception of Vinny Magalesh and Elliot Marshall. I thought TJ Grant versus Ryo Chonin was actually probably the best prelim on the card that I've seen. Good back and forth action. Definitely Chonin won the first round. Grant to me won the second. It definitely had that great heat on it. Mark Boschek finished David pretty decisively, pretty quickly in there. I thought that was good. A nice victory there for Boschek. David Loiseau and Ed Herman was awful. Ed Herman dominated David Loiseau. Like, Loiseau would start off each round off hot, but then he'd, just get beat the fuck up. So, at least the first 2 rounds were 10-8s to me, so that's where I would go with that one. We had Dennis Kang, Professor X, go at it, Xavier Fopapukam. Really, I thought this was a pretty good back and forth fight. Definitely, I thought Kang had more of the striking advantage, and even when, it went down or whatnot, I would give it to Kang. Matt Wyman and Sam Stout was supposed to take place on there, but they moved it over to the main card due to the fact that, due to the fact that Sam Stout was following at the weigh-ins, so they moved it there, which was a good call, as that thing won fight of the night. So we started things off on the pay-per-view with Steve Cantwell and Louise Kane. Really, to me, this was a okay opener. It got going actually a little bit in the second round for Cantwell, and the crowd started getting into it, but overall, not the greatest fight you'd seen. I thought definitely the first round for third round for sure, and the first half of the second round was all Louise Kane on the striking, and that's basically where you would look at it, the kicks. Cantwell got things going, I'd say enough to win the second round, so that's why I gave it to him. Overall, I scored this 29-28, Louise Kane. He got the victory. He won a unanimous decision, I believe. 2 judges scored it 30-27, and I can see that as well. So I thought Kane looked pretty decent in there. Cantwell didn't look... I shouldn't say that he looked decent. They looked both okay. I should say that. It wasn't the greatest fight we've ever seen. Not the greatest opener going. And then we had the next fight, which was Anthony Hardonk versus Cheick Kongo. This was a pretty good fight here, I will say that. It definitely had, the crowd behind it. I knew Kongo would be a big favorite because, one, Kongo's actually a really talented dude. And plus, you're in French Canada. The man is from Paris, France. That's where I thought it would be. Really, this fight went how I thought it would. Kongo used his power to out-muscle Anthony Hardonk, and that's exactly what he did. And he, knocked him down, and he finished him with, those hammer fists. So, big victory there for Cheick Kongo. And I'm really looking forward to see more of Cheick Kongo. I think Kongo could maybe be a potential guy to take on the winner of this interim tournament between Mir and Lesnar down the line. Next fight, which was Krzysztof Szoszynski versus the All-American Brian Stann. Stann really didn't do much in this one. To me, Szoszynski got this one to the ground, which is what he wanted to do, and he got to apply his favorite submission, and one of mine, the Kimura, and that's exactly what he did. He put that on, and, Stann was forced to tap him. He tried it at first, didn't really like his positioning, then he got it on again and got the victory there. Really looking forward to see more of Krzysztof Szoszynski as well. I think Krzysztof's someone who can speak well and he can fight well, so big things for him. Then we went to the first fight that was really promoted heavily and probably drew a lot of the pay-per-view buy rates as well as the live gate as well, which was Chuck the Iceman Liddell versus Mauricio Shogun Rua. You could definitely tell Liddell was in great physical shape. He came in prepared. Had no injuries, so he got to definitely potentially erase all the horrible fights he had. Definitely the last one with Mark Coleman, and the Forrest Griffin fight. This one is exactly what I thought it would hope to be. was, you know, both guys wanted to throw him, and they sure as hell did. Even on the ground, they were doing some nice groundwork there. Really, then, you know, Shogun threw this nice, you know, hook or cross, whatever you want to call it. Liddell went down. Shogun finished the hammer fist. Definitely Shogun's best performance, so he for sure would save his job. Now the Iceman's you know, apparently retired. You know, thanks for the memories, Chuck. I may make a video, you know, give my favorite moments on Chuck Liddell, but we'll see. You know, big victory there for Shogun. This is huge. Don't know what will happen with Shogun, but I really think he definitely earned himself maybe at least 2 to 3 more extra fights with that performance. We'll see where we go there. Then we went to the Sam Stout versus Matt Wyman fight. This was definitely a fight of the night, as it was. I thought really that Stout won the first 2 rounds. I thought, you know, he did more on the ground in the first and second. That's where I'm going to just... That's just what I thought there. Third round was definitely all Matt Wyman. I mean, there's no disgracing that Wyman didn't win a round. I mean, he definitely was on top and more ground control. So that's where I would give it Wyman. And, you know, I scored 29-28, and I believe a lot of the judges did as well. Then we went to the main event, which was just awful. I mean, this fight was just so bad. It really overshadowed Chuck's retirement. I mean, maybe they should have main evented with Chuck and, you know, save this for later. I don't know, but, you know, it was just a terrible fight. I mean, really, all it was the first dancing. Silva kicked Talis Latis' leg out from under him, and, you know, won the round basically on that. Latis, he shot in, got a takedown, he won the round on that. Rounds 3 to 5, it was like Anderson throwing a kick to the knee. That's basically what it was to win the round for Silva. Awful fight, definitely worst candidate fight of the year. Worst fight of the year, I should say. And really, you know, it makes the UFC look bad when you're promoting this guy is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and he's put on these 2 performances back-to-back. The one with Cote was bad, and this one was atrocious. So that's where you wonder. To me, Talis Latis, he's going to be a guy on prelims for maybe the rest of his UFC contract. That's just me. This was just such a bad performance. I mean, Dana White was embarrassed about this. Horrible performance there. So now we just have to wait and see. Hopefully UFC 98 brings us the goods. I mean, we got Rashad versus Machida. So that's what we see. But anyways, that's it for me. I am out. Peace.